Hey everybody, I'm Todd and this is Sweet Tea Guitars. Welcome back to the channel and to another installment in the Ultimate Tele Build series. Alright you guys, we left off the other night. We had gotten the epoxy applied to the fretboard and it did dry back just a little, but I have not touched this thing. It's still got a nice sheen to it, but I have not buffed this yet. Once I buff this thing, I got a feeling this thing's gonna turn into glass. It's nice and hard. I know it's gonna buff up really nice. What we're gonna do in this episode, we're gonna mark up this neck and get this thing ready for some shaping. Let's not waste any time. Let's dive right into it. I've already got some marks made and I've taped off the line so I can tell you guys what I've done here. I've got two pieces of tape run down these lines. I've got tape on the sides as well. I've got a center line drawn down the back of my neck. I set my ruler stop, which is this thing right here. I got this from Lee Valley Tools, but you can get these all day long on Amazon. I've got that set to 13 millimeters. I just took this thing and held a pencil up against the edge and drew a line all the way down the side just like that on both sides. That's what I like about this thing. It allows you to get exactly the same measurement on both sides without any guesswork, and you don't have to take the ruler out and do all that kind of stuff. For this measurement on the back of the neck, I came in from the edge 10 millimeters. Doing that 10 millimeters from the outside edge observes that taper. I'm going for a modern C shape on this neck, which is unlike what I usually do. My normal neck shape is a C to somewhat of a D profile down in here. I leave the shoulders a little bit more pronounced from about the 9th fret up. And what that does is allows me to carve a little bit of a flatter profile on the back of the neck up in here. It just makes the neck feel a little faster. I'm trying to come up with my own set of parameters that I can use on my own guitar designs, and hopefully, you know, that will be my signature style, not just looks, but feel as well. Anyway, I've got my transition marked off right here at the back of my headstock. We're not going to touch the heel area until the neck gets glued into the body. I want to make myself a no-go line on the heel end of this neck. So right here, where I've got this stacked heel made, I want to make myself a line across the back of here, 15 millimeters from that block, because I know that'll give me plenty of room to be able to carve in that profile later. And I've already got a line drawn on here that is where my body contact point is, so we don't want to go any further than that. Anyway, let's take our protractor and let's draw a straight line across this neck here, and that will tell me don't go any further than this with the carve. All right, so we're ready to go there. I'm going to take my fine cut and we're going to cut that corner off to start with. Now what I like to do is go in at my no-go line and cut myself a flat right there. That kind of helps me from going too far. So we don't have to go all the way with it. I just want to create that stop right there is all we're doing. We'll come down here and do the same thing because I want to work on this transition as a separate thing. That should be good for now as well. Okay, now we're just going to take the shinto and start removing material. Kind of try to visualize what angle you need to be at, because we want to cut a flat facet from the outside edge of this tape to the top edge of the tape coming off the bottom of our fretboard. So that whole piece of material needs to be gone. We need a flat facet all the way down. I really love doing this. I really love hand carving a neck. It's one of the things that I take so much pride in. All right, so we've got most of this facet cut in. I'm going to switch over to the fine cut Iwasaki. Get it as close as we can to the tape, but mainly what we're shooting for now that we're pretty close to that tape edge is we want to create a flat all the way down this length. We don't want it humped over, and we don't want it concave. So no concave, no convex. This needs to be flat all the way down. And the Iwasaki is so helpful at getting that. Once you find that angle, and you can see that the Iwasaki will start peeling off little rolls. And that's pretty nice right there. I got a little uneven texture right here. All right, let me pop this out of the vise and show you guys what we got. So that's what we're looking for right there. We want a flat all the way down that line. So there's our first facet cut on our treble side. We're going to get on the base side now. Same thing, we'll knock off that corner. Rosewood smells so good when you're cutting it, routing it, sanding it, whatever. I would say that of all the facets we're going to cut, this first one is the most important because it establishes whether or not everything else you do winds up flat, even, level. Pop it out of the vise and I'll show you guys this thing. So there's our first two facets cut right there. Nice and flat on both sides. I'm really happy with that. All right, you guys, what we want to do now, we want to measure this facet. Down here, we're looking at 16 millimeters. Same thing up here. So we want to make ourselves a mark at the halfway point, which is 8 millimeters. We want this to be as close to perfect as we can get. Make ourselves a line down that 8 millimeter mark, and that splits that facet in half. We're going to do the same thing on this side. If you leave this unburnished and you've got any little part of this that wants to pill up, it has a tendency to catch on your file and you'll rip your tape off, so you don't want to do that. What we want to do now is come halfway in between our center line and the top line of this facet on both sides. We need to measure that distance. This is working out good. That's just a hair over 15 millimeters. We'll go to 8, which is right outside of our veneer line that separates those two pieces of maple. All right, then we'll come down here and measure this. These should be different because we observed the taper. All right, down here we got 12 millimeters, so we want to be at 6. All right, there are those two lines. Now let's take our ruler. All right, there we go on that side. Now we got to catch this side. All right, let's burnish that down. And as you can see already, this facet we're about to cut is shallower than the facet we cut the first time. So this should go a little quicker. But we want to do the same thing. Let's establish this flat in the same place as we cut that flat the first time. All right, there's that flat. We'll come back here on the nut end. Okay, so now we're observing the taper, same thing as we did before. We want to cut this facet and join these two and make sure we're flat. We've got well-defined facet points here and here now. We've taken all that meat off so far, all the way down through here. And that's starting to feel like a guitar neck already. We want to cut at least one more facet into this neck, and that is halfway in between the facet we just cut, and we want that point to meet on our center line. So let's mark that off. In between that line is 16.5 millimeters, so right at where we were before. Down on this end, we're at about 13. We'll go ahead and measure off this side too. Same deal, about 16.5, and down here, about 13. Okay, so what we're wanting to do is take this new facet and we want to cut it from these 2 points of the tape right here to the center line. We're going to have a point that meets on the center line. We've got a well-defined point on our center line right here. We've got 2 defined points right off of our center line, right outside that maple. We've got another defined point here, and then one here. I'm going to cut that point right there off and connect these 2 facets. So we just rolled that point off that was in between these 2 points. It's still on that side. So now I'll do the same thing to this side. Now we've got facet points here, here, the center line. We're back to 3. So what I want to do now is roll these 2 points right here on the side of that maple. I want to roll that into this profile at this point, and we can start to really hone in our profile now. We're getting away from the facets at this point though, and we're starting to round everything over. We can also start to take off that center line, but we don't want to flatten that out. I just don't want a point there anymore. So we'll roll it over is what we're doing. No more heavily defined points. Now you can still feel a little bit of a shoulder right here. But we don't want to get completely rid of that because we don't want to create a flat down the side. We want to roll that in. So now at this point is when I start to move to sandpaper and a sanding block. Medium firm sanding block here. We're going to put some 80 grit paper on it. This is 40 grit. All right, and there we go. I mean, we're nowhere near done sanding, but there's our profile. So you see how easy that really is. As long as you keep your facets flat, you can create yourself a really nice neck profile. Consistent, no humps, no valleys, everything's great. Now what I think we should do is let's start working on this transition right here. So I'm going to use this little karate rasp to start this with. All right, you guys, we left off the other night. This is where our neck was at. I went ahead and sanded this thing up to 320 grit, which I always do. I do that so I can kind of get a feel for what the profile is going to end up being like. And I love this neck, you guys. This is what I would consider to be a more modern C profile. You know, I'm really happy with this thing. I do still have a little more work to do back here behind the nut. And I do still need to carve in my heel transition, and we'll sand this whole neck, everything, up to 320 grit. We're going to polish the fretboard as well. I need to get frets put in here, which brings me to have to tell you guys, I ordered myself a new fret press. It was supposed to be here yesterday. I got a notification late yesterday afternoon that the shipping had been delayed and it's not going to show up until Monday or Tuesday of this coming week. So I think what we're going to do is wrap the video up right here, and I'll spend the rest of the weekend getting this body ready to have the neck glued into it. So in the next episode, you guys are going to see all that work get done. We'll get the neck pocket routed, all our pickups routed, the control cavity. I'll get the body shape cut out, and we'll get this neck glued into this body as we make our way towards completion on this guitar. But by the end of the next episode, you guys are going to get to see what this thing is going to look like as a Telecaster. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can stay up to date as I release the rest of the videos for the Telecaster build, as well as everything else I got planned. Gio and I are getting ready to start the Les Paul build that he and I are doing together. The next episode is going to air over on Gio's channel, and that's coming soon as well. So don't forget to head over to Gio's, give him a subscribe, and also hit that notification bell over there as well. I'll see you guys next weekend, and as always, peace and love.